Welcome to fournseven-poster-frame belysning.
You are not broken.
You are out of balance.
And there is a path home.
This is fournseven-poster-frame belysning,
From the Alaska ulfhednar.
ancestral morning light for those
who have been through hell
and are still standing.
This nonprofit has a sliding scale guidance
At ulfhednar.org/guidance.
fournseven-poster-frame belly snake
Begins now.
Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
For those of you who may be struggling to understand your emotional waves and recipes within your own mind, you are not broken. You're inherited. Purchase and download Rewriting Your Emotional Recipes, Understanding the Emotional Patterns You Inherited, and Forge New Ones on Purpose. The PDF book is available at author.akoutlaw.com. God Morgan, and happy Wotan's Day to you. I am so glad you have joined us today. For those of you who have joined us, regardless what platform, whether you're audio this morning on kwwp.org, whether you're video on YouTube or whatever channel you're listening, not to mention our friends and family, our clan, as available at New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, a streaming channel dedicated to providing us just a plethora of spiritual perspectives that can help us to grow and evolve into our the best versions of ourselves. Well, today's show brought to you by fournseven-poster-frame. Thank you so much for those folks. Wonderful posters and art and displays for your home or business. So check them out, as well as many other of our affiliates at akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. There you will find all types of decorations for your home and business that can really make a statement, state who you are and what you represent. So wonderful opportunity there. Today, we're talking about the quest for wisdom. What is wisdom? We've talked about it many times before, and I'm sure we will talk about it many times again, because it's so critical, and it's such an elemental core to whom we are, to why we exist. So it's a wonderful piece of our evolutionary path. For those of you who may have comments and questions this morning, you can throw it in the chat, and we'll make sure that we try to get you an answer here online. For those of you who wish to ask a more serious question or look into one-on-one guidance, check out https://akulfhednar.org/guidance. Today we're talking about the quest of wisdom, and we opened up the door. What is wisdom? Well, wisdom, of course, we know is the combination of intellect and experiences. So you have intellect, many different intellects throughout your mind of many different subjects and things about those subjects. And then wisdom, with its experiences, interrelates intellect stacks together. We gain this relationship between intellects when we engage in activities that draw upon both of those stacks of intellect, and so we weave this web called wisdom. You could almost say that we're going to build a higher level of intellect called wisdom. Now, you've probably heard the saying, if you haven't in person, you've probably heard it in movies where people talk about being street smart versus being book smart, and how street smart people are savvy and they can move through society and this, that, and the other thing. Well, this is a real thing. Street smart is more based on this thing called wisdom. Now, granted, when it's street smart and it's, in some this, that, or that, we may not call it that. We may, say, oh, people have a tendency to classify very differently. But nonetheless, that's what it is. It's wisdom. They've actually taken pieces of intellect and they've interwoven experiences between those. So this builds this thing called wisdom. Now, wisdom is the foundation at which forward trajectory portion of that wisdom. So if I, as an example, if I learn something and then I interweave it with this wisdom, I can then think about what could happen in the future, right? So I'm going to have more of a future-looking wisdom. That future-looking wisdom is called imagination. Imagination exists in every sensory input we have. We cannot have sensory input without wisdom. Separate of our mood rings, separate of how we think and feel about things, separate of all of that is this thing called imagination, and it alters what we see and hear. It manipulates it. So the process of going through a single thought, taking the experience from out here, processing it all the way through into what we refer to as our memories, with this emotional tie, obviously we have emotional intellect as well as we have factual intellect. And within this field we'll call wisdom exists the combination between intellectual data pieces, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and I have emotional intellect, is how do I feel about 1 and 1 and 2, right? So all of this is strung together, interconnected through this thing called wisdom. Wisdom, again, is the foundation at which we draw upon for imagination, which then kind of manipulates future sensory input, altering it in a way to help the brain capitalize on the fight, flight, or freeze or fawn. So all of these they're all part and parcel. We get them all together. In much the same way that we are looking towards the future with our imagination, altering that sensory input, so too do we use that imagination to alter our sensory input for our spiritual side as well. Many of us have gained throughout the years, may have come into this realization that that stuff's all nonsense. It's for kiddies. It's for whatever. We're not going to subscribe to it. And this is where we kind of fool ourselves into thinking that we have no spiritual connection. We've lost that. We've given that up. Well, the only person we're really convincing is ourselves, because the reality is our sensory input to the spiritual realm from our spiritual self happens whether we believe it or not. Okay? Whether we embrace it for what it is or not is really not relevant. Okay? So it's important, though, that we understand how energy moves back and forth. And this is kind of where my whole thing, my whole understanding of spirituality really came into my life and certainly has worked wonders in understanding. And that was this transference of energies. I used to think that, oh, that stuff was happening and I had to respond to it and I had to react to it, whatever the case. And I've discovered that that's just not the case. I can actually turn it off. Much like the TV that we hear frequently of turn off the news, turn off the news. So too can I turn off an experience. I don't have to be a part of it, nor do I have to allow it to store in a negative way. Okay? So there are ways for me, as the receiver of this experience, to recognize or to shift my perspective to allow me not to see it as a negative, not to ingest it, not to process it, and certainly not to store it as a negative, thereby minimizing and or eliminating altogether the potentiality of a negative broadcast, me pushing off negativity, me being negative to those around me. Super important that I recognize this energy transference, because in the case of influential energies, which is the lion's share of transferred energies, is to influence us. It's out there in droves, right? It's almost more than anything else. Is this influential energy that we're receiving that is primarily driven to change us in some way. That's influential energy. Some influential energy is good. We have peer associations where the peer are modeling good behavior, right? And we've seen this work in society, and it happens. Or in a new job, maybe, where we go to a new job and what do? We watch the person whom, is getting ready to retire, right? We're taking their spot, and they're going to walk us through their day. They're going to walk us through all the things that we need to do in our job, right? Modeling this behavior. So what we're doing now is we're demonstrating in a visual way or in audio what needs to happen. We're kind of setting that stage. We still have the choice at any point along our channels to alter the trajectory. Let me give you an example. In my studies, I've learned that there are 7 steps in the thought process. 8 steps. In that process, we have sensory input. That's the experience. That's the only one we can't really control, is what people are doing out there, right? We can alter our perspective as to how we're looking at that, but the experiences happen irrelevant of us, right? So we experience something. Our imagination is already set. We've already built that. We've cultivated our wisdom, and so the imagery and the alteration to our sensory input is already coming into play. So there's already a manipulation of that image, of that experience. This manipulated view now comes into into our mood ring. The mood ring, again, depending on what our mood is for the day, our emotional state alters the image even more. From there, the experience drops into the well of the self. In the well of the self, of course, we have our values, our virtues, and our belief systems. Those are at the bottom of the well, but along the walls of the well are those other things. Those things that we're not very excited about, those things that that may have existed from a previous part of our existence, right? So those are on, and as these experiences drop into the well, if they can stay off the side walls, they're going to come down directly into our virtues, values, and belief systems, where we're going to assign even more energy to them. Those energies are then passed into a conversion or a conversion process where it's actually created into biology. So this is where we're going to release hormones into the blood system. We're going to release chemistry that our own body is making to further alter that signal. But we're going to try immediately at the bottom of the well of the self, we're going to try to very closely, as closely as possible, we're going to recreate the energy that hits the bottom of the weller. We're going to recreate that in chemistry. That chemistry is then going to vibrate through the body. It's going to move all around, where it'll arrive at this thing we call the recipe card. At the recipe card, we then can evaluate, and we say, oh, here's the chemical composition. What does that look like? Well, let's see. Well, it kind of looks like this over here. Yeah. So it must be joy, must be happiness, must be anger, must be mad, frustrated, whatever. We identify it based on a recipe card that we have written our whole life. We were taught this. Write the recipe card. We evaluate, then we're going to manipulate that chemistry. Then that chemistry, now manipulated again by both the body as it was percolating through it and the recipe card, which adds a little bit of energy, it's all put into the horn of feeling, and we've talked about the horn of feeling before, where it's converted back into energy. This process, we have choices all along the way. We can certainly set our mood, we can have our imagination, so we're kind of controlling that part of it. We can steer these energy streams, if you will, into the center of our well by being authentic, by living our authentic selves, allowing that energy then to bounce through a bunch of rocks at the bottom, called our virtues, values, and belief systems, and we get to decide what rocks are there. We can pitch out the ones we don't want, we can grow, we can shrink, we can do whatever we'd like with those virtues, values, and belief systems. So we've had a commanding presence in getting this energy to convert to biochemistry. Now, biochemistry, obviously, we have some degree of control over. We can decide whether we're going to add mind-altering substances, which will then alter this chemistry. We can eat right, we can do exercise, we can do all that stuff that sets the values, that allows for or denies the alteration of that chemistry as it moves through the bloodstream to the recipe card. At the recipe card, we can question those things. We can make sure that we're assigning the right values, that we're correctly identifying to our needs those chemical compositions that are then converted into the well, in the horn of feeling. at the horn of feeling. As we begin the conversion process, remember we have the cognitive space, that little bit of space that's on top of the horn. And that cognitive space allows us to control the expansion of energy from this biochemistry. So now we're controlling that by, maintaining our cognitive space. And probably equally important is, as we live authentically, remember when we hit the side of the well of the self, back a couple of steps, we're going to drum up silt. And that silt then deposits into the horn of feeling, where it's going to minimize the amount of space that we have for expansion. If that expansion exceeds the horn, that's where you have physiological symptoms, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and then physiological symptoms, sweating, heartbeat, all those things. Okay? So all of those things are all driven when the horn overflows. Energy is then passed from the horn of feeling, where we've maintained control with the cognitive space, to this thing called the me gate. And the me gate is ultimately that deciding point where we receive an experience and we decide, we can make a conscious choice that we do not want unhappiness, anger, frustration, those things that we do not want, those emotional states we do not want. We can say no. Period. Then, after the me gate, the experience is passed into our memories. Our memories are then, remember, of the foundation to imagination. Cycle starts all over. All right? So there's a bunch of places that we really have a vote in this. All right. Today we speak to the gods, and the gods are very informative into allowing us to, by providing us with these buoys at which to steer us into deeper water. Today's rune, Uruz. Uruz. And Uruz, of course, the second rune of the Futhark. My notes say it could mean understanding, pragmatic knowledge, health, luck, pattern, tenacity, vitality, constancy, and strength. What I think the gods are telling us today is to be strong, to exercise the strength part of this, in believing in the self. We have the authority, we have the energy, we have all the tools that we need to make things happen in the way we choose to see them. So be strong in our belief of ourselves. And that's the rune for today. All right? Be strong. Recognize your authority, your power to your own mind. Remember, you're in charge there. No one else is. No one can make you think or make you feel anything. They can present ideas, they can present different things to you, but it's your decision as to whether you decide to accept it or not. That's our call. All right, my friends, I must take a very quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to put this on the road and make it actually work for us. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Feed the four-footed crew right. Zeal Pet Foods keeps ingredients honest and energy steady. Check out all their options and all the links in our webpage at sponsors.
It's happening.
It's in the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
Level up your language in minutes a day. TalkPal AI gives instant feedback and real practice. Try it and try the link in our description.
These words are stirring something heavy in you. You don't have to carry it alone. Sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours is available through the Alaska ulfhednar. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.
About your emotional path and your acceptance and absorbing the reality around you. Want to draw in your ancestry. Find a sense of belonging and the emotional patterns that shape your life. Check out our latest book, Rewriting Your Emotional Recipes. You can find it, purchase, and download at author.akoutlaw.com. Check out the book, and while you're there, you can check out and join us for our conference, which will be January 8th in Anchorage at the BP Energy Center. All right, welcome back, and thank you for taking that quick break with us. As always, we very much appreciate our friends and family at New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com streaming channel. Wonderful collection of spiritual perspectives that can help. All right, so let's put this on the road. Let's put our wisdom on the road and think about how we ingest experiences. We hear them, we see them, we feel them, we smell them, we touch them, or taste them. All of these experiences provide for us a conversion, an energy that converts in our eyeballs, in our ears, in our taste buds, in our nose hairs. All of these things bring this conversion process, this process of converting in much the same way a video camera does, right? So we're converting it. And the experience itself, that out there, doesn't have emotional energy. That's not where emotional energy comes from. Emotional energy comes from here. So when we're looking at the world, when we're watching the world, when we're experiencing the world, we just need to be cognizant of that, of understanding that that means nothing. The meaning for that experience is in the eye of the beholder. You, us. We're the ones that will then decide from an emotional polarity where this experience falls into our spectrum. If we are resistant, we may find unexpected, unwanted energies. If we are tolerant, we may find a neutrality, and if we are accepting, we'll find positive energies and positive emotions associated with the experience. So the emotional part of the experience comes from in here. The connection between intellect within the mind, both emotional and data, that emotional or that experiential connectivity that we are using to then build the matrix of the mind, this thing that we're going to call wisdom, and the driving energy for imagination, that comes from us. The experience just ties the couple together. We provide the emotion. That's what you are. You're an emotional little generator. Okay? So we're going to create the emotional energy that then connects to these experiences. All right? So think about those things that you're experiencing and think about them from, instead of looking at them as a negative or as a bad thing, look at them as a neutral thing. And what is it about that experience that we're assigning particular emotions to? I don't know. That's for each of us. We can look at an experience, and this is why a multitude of people can look at the same experience, can see the same thing, and yet have different takeaways from it. So, very different. So consider next time you have an experience, you're having an experience right now, what's the experience doing versus what emotion are you connecting to it? All right? All right, my friends, I must go for today, but I wish you the very best Wotan's Day. I hope that you will join us again this evening when we'll have a sports ball, questions answered, of course, questions that you've asked through our website. So if you haven't had a question answered and you want one answered, by all means, take a look at our website, akulfhednar.org. There you can scroll all the way to the bottom, big orange button, you can't miss it. It'll tell you to check out or to ask your question, and then we will get you an answer. All right, and not only will we get you an answer, but we'll also send you a free t-shirt. So it's a win-win. All right, my friends, be sure again to check out my website, author.akoutlaw.com. There you can find all the information about my books and about me and about the life around me. You're welcome to check that out, and we will see you again next time for sports ball tonight and belysning, where we will embrace the strength of Thor tomorrow. All right, my friends, love and light. Enjoy your Wotan's Day.
Fellows, una, hjälp oss med, magnify, tu för åg, kaliot.
If what we've touched today hits something raw for you, you don't have to carry it alone. We offer a sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.